Okay, let's get started. Let's move on to chapter... Let's move on to chapter 2. September. I've decided to take advantage of the weekend and go back to the market. I'm sure someone will finally agree to tell me more than the tidbits I've managed to gather up to now. Especially about the Maltaire family, who seem to fascinate half the village and terrify the other half. I should start with the baker. If she hasn't finished her season already, she can't be far off. She wouldn't be taking much of a risk sharing some gossip with me, seeing as she's leaving until next summer. I see Gerard Bortine on the other side of the square. He's talking to someone, a tall man with a self-possessed air. I could go over so that he has to introduce me, but the bakery is about to close and I might not get another chance to question Miss Bouchard. What should I do? She may not say anything. I might learn something new with this interaction. Seeing you read open the house. Someone living up there. Look, Mr. Maltaire, with all due respect, that's none of your business. Hello, Mr. Bortine. How are you doing? Oh, hello, miss. What a nice surprise. Let me introduce you to our mayor, Yves Maltaire. Is that how you say it? I know that's French. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce French. Anyways, let's introduce ourselves. Hello, Mr. Maltaire. Pleased to meet you. I'm Daphné Delatour. Daphné Delatour, so you must be Sophie's daughter. I didn't know she had any children. No, that's not surprising. Mom left the village right after I was born. After thinking it over, Yves Maltaire looks me over from head to toe, distrust and disdain in his eyes. I admit, it makes me quite uncomfortable. Right after you were born, you say? That's strange. I thought that... Well, anyway, never mind. I'm rambling. Are you passing through? I imagine you must be eager to get rid of that unheatable old ruin. No, not at all. I'm staying, at least for the next 6 months. I'm working as a substitute at the middle school. Oh, well. So how do you like our little village? It's not exactly Paris, London, or New York, but we do our best to make people feel welcome. If you need anything, you know where to find me. He nudges me jovially with his elbow. It's got Town Hall written above the door. Goodbye, young lady. Gerard, always good to see you. So, that's the famous Mr. Maltaire. Yes, it is, and you should be careful of him. Everyone seems to be scared of him. Why? They have a reputation, and it's them who call the shots around here. Not only does half the town work in their sawmill, but Mr. Maltaire is the mayor too. It's been like that for generations, and I have to tell you, there's always been bad blood between the Maltaires and the Delators. Things are going to change. Perhaps. But now that I'm here, things are going to change. I can promise you, I'm not going to let them walk all over me. You'd be better off not adding fuel to the flames. If the Maltaires decide you're a threat, they'll do everything in their power to make you leave. It's absurd. It doesn't make sense. Why would they see me as a threat? I'm nothing but a school teacher. Oh, well, if I knew what goes on in the heads of those scum. Well, I still have a few things to do. Perhaps I'll see you later, Mr. Bortine. He gives me a small nod and heads to his car. Of course, when I reach the bakery, it's already closed for the weekend. Too bad. I go around the shops trying to find about the Maltaires as I buy fresh contents for my refrigerator. Unfortunately, now that I've been identified as the young heiress, their tongues are tied. The villagers have become surly, polite, yet distant. As I carry my groceries to the car, it begins to rain. And it doesn't stop for the whole weekend and the beginning of next week. I'm at school, teaching geometry to my 6th grade class when nature finally intervenes to give the sun back. But the respite is short-lived when a bit later, I discover a summons to the principal's office in my locker. Even though I'm now on the other side of the fence, and I no longer risk a detention, I admit it worries me a little, adding a sense of menace to this otherwise radiant September day. When I venture into the principal's office, I discover Mr. Chastanet, the principal, in a heated debate with someone who I guess is the irate mother of one of my pupils. The poor man is ashen. He cowers behind his desk, and he's so hunched up in his big leather chair, it's as if he's melting in the upholstery. Please, Miss Levesque, you must admit that your demands are most unusual, to say the least. Don't forget that Miss Delator is only here for 6 months. Everything will go back to normal when Mrs. Dupuy come back. When Mrs. Dupuy comes back. Ah, here she comes. Mr. Chestnut fixes me with an imploring gaze as if I was his only hope of salvation. Did you want to see me? Yes, please, take a seat. Let me introduce you to Mr. Levesque, Jean-Baptiste's mother. You know, one of your sixth grade students. Let's speak to her. Hello, Mrs. Levesque. It's nice to meet you. I'm Daphné Delatour, Mrs. Dupuy's substitute. I'm really satisfied with your son's work. He's an excellent student. Excuse me. Are you kidding me? You must realize I'm not here to talk about my son's math skills. Look, Mr. Chestnut, I'm not going to exchange words with this. Anyway, we had an agreement, you and I hope you'll keep to your word. Jean-Baptiste's mother glares at me coldly. I hear the director mutter in his beard. But we hadn't agreed to anything. I don't know what to make of the situation. After a few seconds that feel like hours, I give up and say, right, let's get to the point. What's this all about? I'm not sure how to tell you this. Mrs. Levesque wishes to remove her son from your class. Did I do something wrong? I don't understand. Everyone seems quite happy with my work. Why would you want to remove your son from my class? This has nothing to do with your teaching. Mrs. Levesque, be reasonable. You can't ask us to change the classes just like that for no good reason. For no good reason? Ah, that's it. You're falling under the Delatour's spell too. That family of pagans. You arrive in town and just like that you think you can get away with anything. But me, I can see what you're up to, and I won't be fooled like the others. Do you want me to say it? But you are a witch. What would I say in this situation? I know this is something I would most likely say. Calm down. I don't mean you any harm. Please, madam, calm down. I assure you that I don't mean any harm to yourself or your son. It's not my fault if my family has a reputation in the area. I would happily continue to explain myself, but Mr. Chestnut interrupts to cut short the discussion. You see, I was sure that if we discussed it rationally, we could come to a consensus. I trust you're reassured, Mrs. Levesque. And Miss Delatour, I hope I can rely on you to take good care of our dear Jean-Baptiste's progress. Of course, sir. I'll pay special attention. What? Oh, you're in it together. There's no other explanation. You, Delatour, you won't get away with this. You haven't heard the last of me. Without warning, she leaves the room, slamming the door behind her. There is an awkward silence which is quickly broken by Jean Castanet. That's the third time she's burst into my office for this nonsense. I believe I owe you one, Daphne. It's my job. You're welcome, Mr. Chasnet. Soothing parents' irrational fears is also part of the job description. When I finally get out of school, it's almost dark and rain is pouring down again. As if today's events... Ooh. My apologies. I had an alarm. I was supposed to wake up at this time, but I woke up a little bit earlier. In any case. I mean, honestly, what does she think she's doing, making trouble for me like that? As if it's normal. She's lucky I don't have any magical powers, if such a thing even existed. Otherwise, I would have changed her straight into a frog or something. These witchcraft stories are quite fascinating. It's hard to believe the Maltese have the whole area under their thumbs just like that. So, trust me, would you? Bam! One little curse and no more problem. There must be a price to pay. But what nonsense. Things like that don't exist. Even if I would like them to. I've lit a cigarette, and I'm sitting by the window brooding over these thoughts. When suddenly, the headlights of a car illuminate the bend in the road. To my surprise, it turns at the gate and comes up the lane to the house. Who would visit me this late? I think I recognize a grubby gray van with the ladder on its roof and a hastily patched up right-wing mirror. How is this possible? What is he doing here? I run down the stairs. I open the front door. Frank? There he is, my ex-lover, at the door, drenched by the relentless rain. My heart sinks at the thought of seeing him, talking to him once again, just when I had resigned myself to the fact that he was a remnant of the past. First happy, then not so much. How did he know? How did he find me? I hadn't even told him I was leaving. Daphne? How long do you plan on making me wait in the rain? We need to talk. But, what are you doing here? Frank stands in the hall, watching me, clearly annoyed. I'm fine, thanks for asking. I know we broke up, but didn't it even cross your mind to call and let me know that you're moving to the other side of the country? Um, I mean, what do you mean? Come on, explain. It's none of your business. It's got nothing to do with you. You said it yourself. We broke up. Alright, then tell me why I'm still getting your mail. My mail? Yes, a letter from your mother. I know your relationship's difficult, so I figured it's probably important. And then I had to track you down, which wasn't exactly child's play. It would have been easier to it would have been easier if you've left me your new address. Since I'm between jobs, I thought I'd take a few days off. Frank smiled at me, looking amused. Then, pretending to check out the room, he adds, Funny, I've been waking. Excuse me. Funny, I've been dreaming of a weekend in the bed and breakfast, or should I say, castle and breakfast. So what do you think? It's a little bigger than our old flat on the main street. Do you ever get lost on the way to the bathroom? You know, I've always thought you were a bit of a hoth. Wouldn't you agree, Lady Daphne? Quit talking crap. What? Don't you like Lady Delator? What about Lady Daphne? Or your Grace? Your Grace sounds perfect, don't you think? Frank is wandering around the hall, inspecting the furniture and ornaments. If there's one thing he's particularly good at, it's the way he can diffuse tense situations. Do you mind if we talk about it tomorrow? I've got to say, I'm shattered. As he speaks, he pulls a letter from his inside pocket and places it on a chest of drawers in the hall. Your mother's letter. I know it's not easy for you, but if you need to talk about it, I'm right here. Thank you. Well, if it's okay with you, I'm going to crash on your sofa for a few hours. There's like 4,000 rooms up there. I can't let you sleep on the sofa. I'll set you up in the guest room. Even better, show me the way. I wake up early the next morning. Frank must still be asleep upstairs and won't be awake for at least a couple of hours if I know him. I don't feel like getting up yet, so I decide to stay snuggled under the quilt for a few more minutes. I think about what happened yesterday and how odd the situation is. Frank is fast asleep in a room just a few yards from mine. I can't believe he came all this way just to bring me a letter from Mom. Is he regretting our breakup? Is this letter just a pretext just to see me again? I was ready to never see him again, after everything we've gone through. We met almost 10 years ago. It was so unlikely. We had completely different lifestyles. He was a carpenter, and I was a freshman at the university. Science major. I just arrived in town. There was a party at an acquaintance. I still don't know why I was invited. I don't know why I went either. I guess when you're 20 years old, you jump at the occasion to go out. I guess the idea of escaping my student digs was enough to convince me to put on a pretty dress and jump on a bus. Frank shouldn't have been there either. He was working on a particularly demanding project, but our hostess had insisted until he had given up and agreed to come. I guess that's what we call fate. The magic worked right away. Then it was the same old story. A few years later, we moved in together. It was stupid paying two rents when we were living with each other all the time. 2 years ago, we took things a step further. Frank's small carpentry business was doing well. My PhD was on track. The subject just came up by itself. Frank asked me if I wanted to have a baby. For him, it was so simple. He was so sure about it. He was so sure of everything, of the strength of our relationship, that he didn't want to wait any longer, that it was the right time. I had cold feet at first, objecting that I wanted to finish my PhD first, that we would have to think about it, but he managed to convince me. It wasn't that hard. I loved him more than anything, and I knew that, sooner or later, I would want to start a family with him. Why wait? We were happy. And then, late in the pregnancy, a few weeks before the due date, I lost a child. They made me keep the lifeless thing in my belly for days until the doctors decided to induce labor. They didn't understand what had gone wrong. Frank stayed with me at every step. He held my hand as I expelled death from my womb. The doctor refused to let me see the baby, objecting that I was too fragile to handle it. But I saw Frank's eyes when they pulled the motionless and silent corpse from me. I clung to him as much as I could. There was a chasm in my chest. I didn't want to admit it to myself, but I knew something was irrevocably broken. Frank decided to incinerate the body and scatter the ashes. Burying the body meant naming it, making it, in a way, exist, and that was much more than we could bear. In any case, I was incapable of making such decisions. When the first shock wave and tsunami it created in our lives finally receded, I realized our relationship was doomed. I blamed Frank, myself, the universe. Seeing Frank every day reminded me of everything I'd gone through, and our daily life had become a hopeless ideal. One day, it was too much, so I closed the door on that life. Frank kept our old apartment, and I took a furnished flat in the meantime. Then, a couple months later, the notary told me my grandmother had just passed away and she'd bequeathed everything to me. Excuse me. I take a quick shower, then go downstairs. The noise from the coffee machine tells me that Frank's found his way to the kitchen. Mom's letter is still propped on the chest of drawers in the hall. I'll have to open it later. What should I start with? Let's go into the kitchen. Frank holds a steaming mug of coffee and is gazing out through the French windows. So, you managed to figure the coffee machine. You know me, without my morning caffeine, I'm a total zombie. They do sleep well. Hmm. I've been thinking things over. I have to admit, I didn't get much sleep. With you being here, I know. You've stirred up some stuff for me too. And, you must have guessed, I haven't traveled 300 miles just to play mailman. I figured your arrival might have an ulterior motive. I think you know exactly why I'm here, so I'm going to ask you straight out. What do you think, Daphne? Tell me, should we try to start over together? From an outside perspective, I do not know anything about Frank. I know Daphne feels a little bit leery of this situation. So, I'm gonna go with I don't know. I don't know. I need to think about it. Okay, I understand. For me, it's very clear. To my astonishment, his face relaxes all at once. He grins at me and changes the subject. So, seriously, what have you been doing here all this time? I tell him about my life and everything that's happened since I arrived. The Bortines, the Maltaires, the tower with no entrance, and all the crazy stuff. I mentioned that now. I mentioned that now I'm a school teacher. Right. Well, I've got to say, your stories are very exciting, but also kind of worrying. Here's what I suggest. Whatever happens, I'm going to stick around here for a while. I don't have any contracts in the near future, and I can afford to give myself a couple weeks off. After that, we'll see. If I find some work around here, I'll stay a few more months. It's not as if there's anyone waiting for me to come home, and it would give us time to think things over. Does it bother you if I stay at the castle for a week or two, just until I can find a room somewhere? You can stay a few days. Did you think I'd throw you out? Of course you can stay for a few days, until you get your bearings. Thanks. It's kind of you not to make me homeless. Don't thank me. It's the least I can do. So, how do we do this? I don't want to get under your feet. There's no reason we'd be in each other's way. The house is plenty big enough for both of us. I was just thinking, I'd better tell the wardens you're here before I leave. We don't want Mr. Bortine to shoot you like a rabbit if he sees you hanging around the house. That's very reassuring. Don't be silly. They're very nice. You'll see. I've really got to get going. Enjoy your day. You too. Mom's letter still taunts me from on top of the chest of drawers. It's high time I found out what it's all about. The envelope is dog-eared and yellowing, as though it had traveled a lot. The stamp is foreign. The lettering tells me it was probably posted somewhere in Asia. I open it with a shaking hand. It's the first news I've had from her in years. It's been what, 5 years? 6 years? I can't remember the last time we talked. Frank has never even met her. She was always a terrible mother, extremely controlling, but also glacially cold and strict. When I turned 18, I got a university scholarship, which allowed me some financial independence, which, in turn, quickly became total independence. I couldn't put up with her interference in my life any longer. Little by little, we lost touch. One year, I made an excuse not to visit her at Christmas. The next year, I just sent a card. I started to filter her calls, and one day, the phone stopped ringing. The bond was broken, and years have passed without me noticing her absence. When I tried to contact her, she had disappeared without leaving an address. I must admit, I didn't try very hard to track her down. And now, out of nowhere, she comes back into my life with this letter. Her nervous, jerky handwriting hadn't changed. The contents of the letter, though, is as cryptic as it is brief. Daphne, please don't accept the inheritance from your grandmother. Don't go back there. You'll only be putting yourself in danger. Regards, Sophie Delator. That closing says a lot about her tenderheartedness. I wasn't expecting your mommy who loves you, but well. Mom never talked about the time she spent here with my grandmother at the castle. It seemed obvious to me that something had happened, but what? I turn this over in my mind as I drive to school. The day flies by, fast as an arrow. With everything that's happened since yesterday, I'm having trouble keeping my mind on my work. When I get back to the castle, there's light and movement. Even if it's only temporary, I'm glad not to be alone for a while. It makes a nice change from my last few weeks of solitude. A fire crackles in the hearth, and delicious smells drift out of the kitchen. It's almost too perfect, and I have a hard time not taking advantage of Frank's kindness. He seems determined to see my every need. Still, he manages to keep out of my way. We eat our meals together, but otherwise we get on with our own business in different parts of the house. As promised, about 10 days later, he tells me he's found a small furnished flat in the village and he's moving in the next day. I'm relieved to see him go. I've got a feeling if he stayed much longer, the situation would become awkward. Days and weeks go by and I slip back into the routine of the school, the village, and the house. I'm walking in the forest. The leaves have begun to redden, and the trees are clad in the bold colors of fall. It's getting late, but I'm too busy strolling along the path. I hadn't noticed, but night had begun to fall. I can see the castle at the end of the trail, but as I get closer, it seems to move away. I feel a presence behind me. Something deeply evil, ominous, almost sickening. I began to run. The house had disappeared completely, and I find myself in some kind of meadow. There's something in the middle, something that softly reflects the moonlight. As I get closer, I discover it's an oval pool filled with a silvery liquid. The image reflected on the surface is me, but not me at the same time. The sensation of dissonance gets stronger as I draw nearer. You can make out my facial features, but something has changed. I realize I'm dressed in all black. My hair is grown, and my eyes seem to burn with a cold light, almost chilling. I reach toward the mirror surface, my fingers stretched out, and the reflection starts to tremble, as if it was resonating. When my finger touches the cold and strangely clammy surface, it shatters into 1,000 pieces. For a few moments, the darkness is absolute. I'm in some kind of garden. A heavy fog surrounds me. I'm moving towards a reddish light that pulls me toward it like a lighthouse in a muffled, turbid storm. I can make out a statue, a sort of human-sized sphinx carved in granite. There's something majestic yet profoundly sad in the hunched-up, impassive attitude of the creature. When I'm close enough to distinguish it, I realize the creature wears my face. I see my countenance reflected in hers like a mirror. Then her eyes come to life, and the imploring, helpless look seems to beg for mercy. I'm frozen in contemplation, my heart overflowing with sadness and awe, when again I feel the sickening presence like a warm breath on the back of my neck. I turn, struggling against the terror which invades me, and suddenly I'm falling endlessly. Darkness buries me. I wake up with a jolt. Alright. That about covers chapter 2. I'll stop here.